The stadium went silent. Millions watched in disbelief. And in one unforgettable moment, the entire sports world changed. Welcome to HAUP Sports. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover the biggest stories in sports, from legendary performances and shocking controversies to locker room drama, trades, rivalries, and the moments that redefine the game. We dive deep into the stories behind the athletes, teams, and headlines shaping the sports world.
Right, and today we are doing a massive deep dive into a headline that absolutely broke the internet over the last 24 hours. Victor Wembanyama's injury twist shocks fans.
Yeah, I mean, that story just completely took over my timeline. Everyone was talking about it.
Oh, for sure. It was everywhere.
But before we get to that massive twist, we have to set the stage. Because usually, when you picture a heavyweight title fight, you imagine two fighters in peak physical condition just trading these massive blows right in the center of the ring.
Exactly. It's going blow for blow.
Right. But imagine watching that exact fight, and the defending champion has one arm tied completely behind their back.
You'd think it would be over in the first round, honestly.
You would, yet somehow that one-armed champion is still dictating the pace. They're dodging the haymakers and just completely controlling the ring. And that is exactly what we found inside this massive stack of sports journalism today.
It really is. And the setting here is so crucial to understanding the stakes. We are looking at Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. It's May 26, 2026.
Right.
You have the defending NBA champion, Oklahoma City Thunder, against this absolute rising superpower, the San Antonio Spurs. And the series is tied at 2 games apiece.
Which is, that's the most intense spot in basketball.
Oh, absolutely. In NBA playoff history, when a series is tied 2-2, the winner of Game 5 goes on to win the entire series 82% of the time.
82%, wow.
Yeah, it's basically a statistical proxy for a Game 7. It's do or die.
So our mission today is to really unpack how a severely depleted championship team managed to outsmart, physically exhaust, and ultimately outlast a fully healthy super team in this pivotal 127-114 victory.
Yeah, and we have to look at the starting conditions first, because the roster disparity going into this game was it was jarring.
It was terrible for the Thunder.
Right. The Thunder are missing 2 massive pieces of their rotation. You've got all-NBA swingman Jalen Williams out with that lingering left hamstring strain.
Which has been bothering him for weeks.
Exactly. And on top of that, their second-year rising star guard, Ajay Mitchell, is sidelined with a right calf strain.
So they're just bleeding talent on the perimeter.
They are. And the loss of those 2 specific players creates a massive mathematical problem for an offense. Williams and Mitchell aren't just spot-up scorers. They are primary offensive creators.
Right, they break down the defense.
Yeah, they bend the whole defensive shell. So without them, opposing defenses can completely shrink the floor.
While meanwhile, the San Antonio sideline is looking at a relatively healthy roster.
Very healthy.
Veteran guard Aaron Fox is playing through a painful right ankle sprain, sure, but he is out there.
Yeah, he's producing. He's giving them that steadying veteran presence.
So Oklahoma City is effectively backed into a corner, right? Which forces head coach Mark Daigneault into a very uncomfortable decision.
Yeah, a true desperation move.
Yeah.
He decides to start rookie guard Jared McCain.
Okay, and just to establish the baseline for anyone listening, this is not a regular season spot start on some random Tuesday in January.
No, definitely not.
This is McCain's first career playoff start in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals against the #1 defense in the entire NBA.
It sounds crazy when you say it out loud.
Hold on, though. When you look at the stakes of this game, starting a rookie under those conditions feels like a massive panic move. How does throwing a rookie into the fire against an elite defense actually solve the problem of missing 2 primary creators?
Well, it really comes down to the literal geometry of a basketball court. When we talk about a shooter having spacing gravity, imagine Jared McCain has this magnetic field around him.
Okay.
Because he is such a lethal perimeter threat, the Spurs defenders literally cannot take 2 steps toward the paint to help on drives.
Because he'll just burn them from deep.
Exactly. In the modern NBA, if you leave a high-percentage shooter alone for even half a second, the math says you were giving up over a point per possession.
Right.
So McCain was essentially playing defense against the Spurs' defense. His mere presence prevents San Antonio from aggressively pre-rotating or just packing the paint.
So the front office's philosophy totally pays off here. They acquired McCain from the Philadelphia 76ers at the trade deadline.
Right.
And the Sixers, they thought they sold high on a guy who couldn't even crack their rotation.
Yeah, Philly fans were celebrating that trade on social media back in February.
Oh, completely. But in Oklahoma City, that specific skill set basically single-handedly insulates them from the loss of Williams and Mitchell.
And, I mean, the production speaks for itself. McCain drops 20 points in this game.
20 points for a rookie in that spot is huge.
It is. But there is a specific sequence in the fourth quarter that illustrates exactly why he was out there.
Oh, I know the exact play you're talking about.
Yeah, right. So San Antonio is trying to mount this late rally, cutting the Thunder's lead down to single digits. The crowd is getting nervous. Devin Vassell misses a cut layup for the Spurs.
Yeah.
McCain secures the outlet pass, pushes the pace in transition, and just pulls up for a deep three-pointer.
So cold-blooded.
Completely cold-blooded. He drills it, instantly pushing the Thunder's lead back to 13 points. And you could physically see the Spurs' posture change.
Just extinguish the run immediately.
Exactly.
But, McCain just standing on the perimeter doesn't score points by itself most of the night.
No, it doesn't.
All that spacing is completely useless unless you have a surgical operator willing to drive into the exact space McCain just evacuated.
Right.
And that job fell to the reigning two-time MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He had to navigate that space while dealing with an absolute nightmare of a matchup.
Yeah, Spurs rookie defensive menace Stefan Castle.
Castle is terrifying on defense.
Yeah.
And that matchup is just getting started. But that is not even the craziest part of this game.
Not even close.
Later in this deep dive, we are going to break down the exact moment that completely broke the Spurs sideline. Fans are still arguing about the sequence online.
Oh, the timeline was a mess after that.
Totally. But let's stick with the SGA and Castle matchup for a second.
Yeah, because Castle's defensive mechanics are incredible for a rookie. I mean, in Game 4, he used this aggressive screen navigation and just pure denial tactics to hold Gilgeous-Alexander under 20 points.
Which is nearly impossible to do.
It is. He fights over the top of screens so quickly that the ball handler never even gets a chance to plant their feet. And when the ball is tipped for Game 5, Castle's strategy is working perfectly again.
Yeah, it looked like a repeat of Game 4.
Exactly. Gilgeous-Alexander goes 1 of 5 from the floor with 3 turnovers in his first 8 minutes. The Thunder immediately fall behind by 8 points, and the tension inside the Paycom Center is just palpable.
You could hear a pin drop in that arena. But watching that first half, though, Gilgeous-Alexander just looked desperate.
He did look frustrated.
He was completely abandoning his jump shot and just throwing his body into the Spurs front court looking for whistles. At what point does constantly driving to draw fouls stop being a desperation move to get ugly points on the board and become an actual strategy?
Right?
Doesn't that risk grinding your own teammates' offensive rhythm to a complete halt?
Well, see, the ugliness is the point.
Really?
Yeah. Think of it like a veteran Cy Young winning pitcher. When your fastball just isn't catching the edge of the plate, you don't just keep throwing it down the middle to get crushed by the batter.
Obviously not.
Right. You switch to off-speed pitches to mess with the batter's timing. Gilgeous-Alexander recognized that Castle's length was really bothering his release point.
Yeah.
So he uses his elite deceleration.
He's the best in the league at stopping on a dime.
Exactly. He drives hard, stops abruptly, and basically forces the recovering defender to crash right into him. He wasn't even looking at the rim on some of these drives.
So he's just foul baiting.
Yeah, he was explicitly seeking out contact against San Antonio's helper rotations.
Which, completely shifts the tempo of the game. It grinds a high-flying Western Conference Finals matchup down to an absolute crawl.
A total crawl.
We're talking about a grueling first half that featured 38 combined free throw attempts between the two teams.
38. It was brutal to watch, honestly.
But it works, right?
It does. That slow tempo heavily favors the shorthanded team. Castle and the Spurs' big men had to soften their perimeter denials because they were just constantly getting whistled for fouls.
They couldn't play as physically anymore.
Right. And Gilgeous-Alexander uses those trips to the free throw line to methodically break San Antonio's rhythm and just buy time for his own jump shot to calibrate.
Which is brilliant.
He registers 19 points by halftime, largely off those free throws.
And once the Spurs are forced to back off to avoid foul trouble, the perimeter completely opens up for him in the second half.
It's like night and day.
He punctuates this entire turnaround with that signature step-back three-pointer right over Castle in the third quarter that pushes the Thunder's lead to 18.
The crowd exploded on that shot.
Oh, they lost their minds. And he finishes the night with 32 points and 9 assists, systematically dismantling an elite defender without even relying on his best weapon early on.
Which is just a masterclass in reading the floor.
It really is.
But while he was solving that perimeter puzzle, the Thunder's front court was dealing with a completely different set of physics down in the paint.
Yeah, they were.
They were tasked with stopping the alien himself, Victor Wembanyama.
Which brings us to the headline of the day, the thing everyone is talking about. But real quick, if you're loving these sports deep dives, make sure you are subscribed because we have even bigger stories coming up.
You won't want to miss them.
Definitely hit subscribe because you are going to want to hear what happened to the Spurs' most unstoppable force. So, the headline. Victor Wembanyama's injury twist shocked fans.
Yeah, this was the story of the night.
If you look at the box score for this game right now, you're probably wondering how a 7'4" generational talent only gets 6 rebounds.
It makes no sense.
It completely defies logic, especially when you remember Game 1 of this series. Wembanyama put together an absolute masterpiece.
Oh, Game 1 was terrifying.
Yeah.
41 points and 24 rebounds in 49 minutes of action.
He looked entirely unstoppable.
He did.
Yet in Game 5, he looked completely out of gas. He was held to 20 points on a brutal 4 for 15 shooting night. He went 0 for 5 from three-point range.
Yeah.
And 12 of his 20 points came from the free throw line. So fans are watching this, and social media just instantly starts buzzing.
Oh, Twitter was a mess.
People were zooming in on his ankles during timeouts, analyzing his gait, swearing he must have suffered a secret injury.
Right. Everyone thought there was a cover-up.
Exactly. But the shocking twist...
He wasn't injured at all.
He wasn't. It was pure, deliberate physical exhaustion inflicted by the Thunder.
Yeah, the mechanics of how Oklahoma City achieved that start with Isaiah Hartenstein.
And we barely played in Game 1, right?
Right. After barely playing in that Game 1 loss, Hartenstein became the defensive anchor in this series. Guarding a player who is 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan isn't about jumping higher than him.
No, you can't.
It is entirely about lower body leverage. Hartenstein has this really low center of gravity. He positioned himself perfectly underneath Wembanyama's hips, and he was constantly pushing the 22-year-old out of the deep post before the ball was even passed.
So he's fighting for real estate early.
Exactly. If you take away a taller player's ability to gather their feet in the paint, their height advantage is basically neutralized.
And Hartenstein didn't just play defense either. He grabbed 15 rebounds by boxing out relentlessly, and he chipped in 12 points, mostly using this the short roll floater.
Yeah, that floater was beautiful. He would set a screen, roll into the open space, and just float the ball up before Wembanyama could even recover to contest it.
And he wasn't doing it alone. You've got Chet Holmgren, who has historically really struggled against Wembanyama's recovery length.
Yeah, the length usually bothers Chet.
But he came out incredibly aggressive. After a really quiet Game 4, Holmgren goes 4 for 4 in the first quarter of a Game 5. He was hitting these smooth, low-block face-up jumpers.
And facing up is the key detail there.
Right.
Instead of trying to back Wembanyama down or shoot a hook shot over him, which, just invites a blocked shot, Holmgren faced the basket, created a pocket of space, and shot jumpers that completely neutralized Wembanyama's block timing.
That's so smart.
It really is. That early scoring kept the Thunder afloat during Gilgeous-Alexander's early shooting slump. Holmgren finishes with 16 points and 11 rebounds.
I have to ask about the reality of this matchup, though.
Sure.
When a 7'4" player shoots 4 for 15, is it really Hartenstein and Holmgren's tactical brilliance, or is it just the inevitable reality of a 22-year-old hitting a massive physical wall in his first deep playoff run? Like, can a team actually solve Victor Wembanyama, or do you just survive him until his legs give out?
Well, think of it like trying to swing a baseball bat while standing in waist-deep water.
Okay, I like that.
Wembanyama still has the same generational swing, right?
Yeah.
But Hartenstein and Holmgren were the water.
Wow.
It was just constant, exhausting resistance on his lower body every single time he tried to move. The NBA playoffs are fundamentally a war of attrition. You are playing the same highly motivated team every other night.
And it wears you down.
Exactly. The Thunder's front office committed major capital to a dual big roster configuration specifically for this type of physical grinding series. You don't solve a talent like Wembanyama, but you systematically wear down his legs.
By just making him work for every inch.
Right. When you push him out of the paint on every single possession, making him fight through multiple bodies just to grab a rebound. Those fourth-quarter jump shots are naturally going to fall short.
Because his legs are gone.
Exactly.
Every time he went up for a rebound, there was a Thunder defender grabbing his jersey, putting a forearm in his back, just, making him work for every inch.
It was a physical masterclass.
And that physical toll clearly drained Wembanyama's legs. But what happened next completely changed the narrative.
Yeah, it really did.
Because that friction seemed to bleed over into a mental toll that completely broke the Spurs sideline in the third quarter.
Oh, the meltdown.
Meltdown, we have to talk about it.
The experience gap between these two teams was just completely exposed in that specific quarter. The Spurs have overachieved all year, riding this wave of youthful momentum.
They've been the darlings of the league.
Right. But when the game plan breaks down and the calls aren't going your way, you see how a team actually reacts under pressure.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
No. Trailing by double digits, there was an out-of-bounds ruling that went against San Antonio. Spurs head coach Mitch Johnson was furious. He attempted to challenge the call.
Which you can do, but
the NBA rulebook is very strict. A coach must call a timeout before they can legally initiate a coach's challenge.
And he was so caught up in the emotion of the bad call that he completely forgot to signal for the timeout.
He totally forgot. So veteran referee Tony Brothers simply ignored the request because the protocol wasn't followed.
Which just made it worse.
Way worse. Johnson explodes in frustration on the sideline, screaming at the officials, and he gets immediately assessed a technical foul.
But the meltdown compounds.
It cascades.
The Spurs bench gets so agitated by their head coach getting a technical that players actually step onto the court during active play to argue.
Which is an automatic penalty.
Yes. That results in a second technical foul. The Thunder are handed free points at the free throw line, and any shred of momentum San Antonio was trying to build is instantly erased by their own lack of discipline.
Yeah, a young team often allows one negative event to cascade into three.
It spiraled out of control.
It did. But contrast that sideline chaos with the Thunder's bench rotation. You've got Alex Caruso, a veteran who scored 0 points in Game 4.
He had a terrible Game 4.
Right, but he didn't pout or force his offense in Game 5. He stayed completely composed and erupted for 22 points off the bench.
22 points from Caruso is massive.
It's huge. Then you have backup sitter Jalen Williams, who engineered a massive momentum swing earlier in the game. He zips this perfect pass to Cason Wallace for a corner three.
Right.
And on the very next possession, Williams trails the play in transition and calmly hits a three-pointer of his own. The Thunder's bench never looked rattled, regardless of the score.
Which is incredible. We constantly hear analysts on TV talk about, championship DNA and playoff experience.
Well, all the time.
Honestly, half the time it sounds like a sports cliche just used to fill airtime.
Yeah, a buzzword.
Exactly. But looking at the Spurs' sideline meltdown versus the Thunder absorbing a 15-0 run earlier in the series without even blinking, does this actually prove that playoff poise is a quantifiable structural advantage?
I mean, the proof is in the execution during those chaotic moments.
Yeah.
The Spurs deserve incredible credit for reaching the conference finals this early in their developmental timeline.
Absolutely. Nobody expected them here.
Right. But youth shows up when the pressure spikes. When an inexperienced team's primary game plan falls apart, they panic.
They start forcing things.
Yeah, they argue with the referees, they blow defensive rotations, they rush their shots on offense. But the Thunder, they went through the fire to win the 2025 championship.
They know what it takes.
Exactly. That run taught them how to navigate in-game adversity. When their MVP started 1 for 5 and they fell behind early, nobody on the Thunder panicked.
They just stuck to the script.
They shifted gears, trusted their depth, utilized their defensive leverage, and simply executed the next play.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the tape, the Oklahoma City Thunder secure a 127-114 victory, taking a commanding 3-2 series lead. They proved that having a deep, adaptable roster and sheer emotional composure can overcome significant injuries.
Even when facing the generational talent of a team like the Spurs.
Exactly.
And the pressure shifts entirely onto San Antonio now.
It's all on them.
The series heads back to the Frost Bank Center for Game 6. The Spurs are facing elimination on their home floor. Their coaching staff has basically 48 hours to figure out how to generate efficient offense when Wembanyama is exhausted and being physically denied access to the paint.
That is a tough puzzle to solve in 2 days.
It really is. Meanwhile, the Thunder are just one win away from returning to the NBA Finals to defend their crown.
It is going to be absolute theater, If you are enjoying our breakdowns of these massive games, make sure you subscribe to the show for more deep dives into the hidden narratives and strategies shaping the sports world. We love taking these stacks of articles, stats, and coaching decisions and uncovering the actual mechanisms of the game for you.
Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss Game 6.
But before we go, I want to leave you with one lingering thought to mull over. When we watch a generational alien like Victor Wembanyama, someone who can do things at 7'4" that guards do at 6'2", we tend to assume he is immune to the physical limits of the sport.
We treat him like magic.
Right, we just view his talent as magic. But considering how Oklahoma City's grinding, leverage-based defense visibly exhausted him in Game 5 and spawned all those injury twist rumors, it really makes you wonder. In the modern, hyper-athletic NBA, is pure, unadulterated talent starting to take a backseat to sheer, unbreakable endurance? Can the one-armed champion win the heavyweight fight simply because they know how to take a punch better than the challenger? Keep your eyes on Game 6. You've been listening to HAUP Sports, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping the world of sports. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe.